Bishop Sisk to come up, and he is going to welcome the Dean of Lincoln Cathedral. Bishop Sisk is Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of New York, and we are so delighted that you're here tonight to be with us to introduce the Dean.
I'm very honored and pleased to be here. The Very Reverend Philip Buckler is the Dean of Lincoln Cathedral, the post he has held since 2006. Dean Buckler was educated at Highgate School and at St. Peter's College in Oxford before training for the priesthood at Cuddesdon College in Oxford. From 1972 to 1975, Dean Buckler was the curate at Bushy Heath in St. Albans. He then became chaplain of Trinity College, Cambridge from 1975 to 81. In 1981, he moved to St. Paul's Cathedral to become minor canon and sacristist, a post he held until 1986. He was appointed vicar of Hampstead in 1987 and was also dean of North Camden between 1993 and 1998. He became canon residentiary at St. Paul's Cathedral. I've never quite understood the difference between a minor canon and canon residentiary, and perhaps he can explain that during his words. At any rate, he returned to St. Paul's in 1999 and became all-important canon treasurer in 2000. In September 2006, he was appointed to be the new Dean of Lincoln Cathedral. Sir.
Thank you. I'm told that a minor canon is a small bore compared to a major canon. But can I thank Bishop Sisk and Dr. Lucas for their welcomes. I want for a moment you to imagine that you're among the English barons in medieval times, in 1215, and you're watching King John of England being forced to make an agreement, to set his seal on a document that was to limit his powers. Imagine then that you're one of the medieval folk living in Lincoln. Lincoln was one of the great centres of power in Britain, an old Roman colony. It was where William the Conqueror placed a castle and a cathedral to keep an eye on the whole of the middle of Britain. And you're a resident in Lincoln, and you watch as your bishop, his name is Hugh de Wells, he comes up the steep hill, and in his possession is a document, the Magna Carta, for he has been himself at Runnymede, and if you read Magna Carta, you'll see his name on the second line over on the right, one of the witnesses of this important agreement sealed at Runnymede. And you as a Lincoln resident are proud that your city of Lincoln has played its part in this monumental move. But then imagine a few centuries later, that you're among those who set out from England, set out to start a new life far away here in America. You carry in your hearts the words of Magna Carta. You carry with you the philosophy and the beliefs enshrined in Magna Carta. And then imagine that you are a child in the 21st century, learning to value the freedoms and the democracy in your country, and you are gazing at a document on which so much of your country's proud history of freedom is based. Imagine just standing and looking at Magna Carta, that very same document from the year 1215, here in the Francis Tavern Museum in New York, at this very exhibition. Well, you need imagine no longer, for in a few moments you will have the opportunity to stand and gaze upon this document. You will, I hope, reflect not only in wonder at its age, but also at its history, at its influence, and above all, the challenges that it still provides for us today. The rule of law, the principles of justice, and the danger of unlimited power. All these are issues that were at the heart of Magna Carta, and they are issues that ring loud bells for us in our own society in the 21st century. It's my privilege to be able to bring Magna Carta to you as Dean of Lincoln Cathedral, arguably the finest Gothic cathedral in Europe. Actually, there's no argument about it. John Ruskin, the great art critic, he was convinced that it was, and I share his opinion. The Magna Carta has been in the possession of Lincoln Cathedral since June 1215. You may say, that's wonderful, you look after your things well. Actually, the secret of conservation, and I'm looking round for our conservator who's here, but the real secret of conservation is to put it in a drawer and forget about it for 600 years. So much better than trying to tinker with it. But that's what happened. And in the 19th century, it was discovered and we began to learn its value. And now, today, we realize how important it is that we try to share it with other people across our world. And I'm grateful to all of you who have made this visit possible, especially, of course, to the Sons of the Revolution. And in the working that's been suggested, we've worked on this for a couple of years. We have made many friends here, and it's been a joy to do so. You will remember that this Magna Carta came over here in 1939 to the World Fair. And because of the dangers of the Atlantic, you kindly looked after it in Fort Knox during the wartime. It was arguably more valuable than anything else you had in there at the time. And we're grateful to you for taking such good care. I had the privilege to bring it over to Virginia as they were celebrating their 400th just recently, a couple of years ago, and Philadelphia also. And earlier this year, it came to California. It's very good that the birth certificate of democracy should be here in New York, and that it should come at such a time as September, when, as has already been mentioned, we remember the tragedy of 9/11 and the dangers to our freedoms and democracy that were enshrined there, but also the dangers, dare I say it, in our reactions. We need Magna Carta to remind us of the values that we hold dear, and that nothing must dissuade us from holding those values for the future and for our children. So So it just remains for me to say how delighted I am that it's here in Francis Tavern. A piece of history come to a place of history. I think there was something about, worried about taxation, was it? I won't go into that. But certainly the barons were worried about the taxation King John was doing, and I think it happened over here some years ago. Anyway, let me then welcome you into the presence of Magna Carta and invite you to journey with it into a future underwritten by its values, and pray God in the path of peace. Thank you very much.